Last week, I started a video about fighting porn and failing. So I wanted to finish that up, mostly before I forget what I was talking about. Just a little bit of a recap. I was talking about removing porn's grip on you by healing. I talked about how unresolved issues in your past will cause things like porn addiction. Um, I hope that none of this was too hard to understand. Um, it probably came as a bit of a shock to you. I know when I first put the pieces together, I was kind of surprised. What we do a lot of times is we kind of have the separation between um, the things that we're doing and the situations we're going through in life. So maybe we're having a hard time with depression, and I want my depression to go away, but then we're doing things that causes depression, like we drink a bunch of alcohol, we party all the time and sleep around all the time. Well, I don't want to change those things. Those things don't have anything to do with it. I want my depression to go away. Well, yes, but things definitely are related. Um, we think we can't resolve an issue a lot of times, though, when the person is dead, right? And here's the thing, you can. So the question becomes how? Well, here's the thing. I have found that there is no one answer that I can give you. It's something that you have to wrestle with. It's something that you have to kind of discover. The problem is that we spend so much time thinking about past hurts and letting it affect our lives, but we don't actually think about it in a creative way. What I mean by that is instead of going to our problems looking for answers and how to resolve the conflict, how to forgive and get forgiven, we want to win instead. And so we replay the offenses and how bad we've been mistreated and justify ourselves for our bad attitudes. That's not helpful. Yeah, it might make you feel better, but you're hurting yourself. There's no point to it. Um, so how can you resolve the issues with the person who's dead? Well, you can't go up to them and say sorry. That's for sure. You can't bring them back from the dead. That's for sure. Killing yourself really wouldn't help. So there's a few things there. I have some ideas that I'll share with you in just a minute. But those ideas also relate to people who are still alive too. So obviously, if somebody's still alive, go up to them and try apologizing. But I wasn't the one who was wrong. Well, maybe originally you weren't wrong, but then you got kind of turned into a mean person. You see, people do this with divorce. They divorce, and so then that's an excuse to hate their spouse, their ex-spouse. Well, yeah, but now you're still letting them and your anger towards them run your life. Nothing's been resolved. It may legally be that you are no longer bound to them, but emotionally and psychologically, you very much so still are. There's been no growth on your part. You might say, well, it's not fair. What they did was wrong. I get that. I'm not saying who was right and who was wrong. I'm saying, do you want to heal? Do you want to move forward? Just kind of the way it is. So you're going to have to wrestle with this. There's much more I could say about this, but I'm trying to kind of stay on topic here. You can try counselors. Counselors may help. They might help point you in the right direction. But instead, don't just sit and think through and overthink the situation and how everybody else is wrong and how they all need to respond. Focus specifically on what you can do to move forward. Think about how you can resolve it, not win. You can either be focused on proving how right you are, or you can be focused on healing. Those two usually are mutually exclusive too. Don't worry about the step after this one. How am I going to deal with my hurt? How am I going to deal with my porn? How am I going to deal with, looking forward? Will I ever get out of this? If it's depression you're dealing with, right? Oh, I'll never be not depressed. This is what I'm going to be dealing with for forever. Don't worry about the step after this one. Just like that book that I talked about in part 1, the Oathbreaker, or Bringer. Sorry, Oathbringer. That was weird. Anyways, Oathbringer. It's not about way down the road. It's about this next step that you're taking right now. What step are you taking? How are you moving forward? Don't worry about the other steps that you took in the past. They're gone. They're done with. There's not much you can do now. If you think you made a false step forward, well, try to learn and grow from it. Maybe learn to take other people's advice. Oftentimes I see people get into bad situation after bad situation because they can't be told what to do. They can't accept advice. They think that they have to, prove themselves in every little issue. Usually a sign of past trauma, but still. So focus on the step you are taking now. What step can you take now? How can you move forward from here? Well, I tried this, I tried this, I tried this. Okay, great. You tried 3 things that didn't work or didn't work by themselves. Maybe keep trying it, yeah, sure, but maybe try something else as well. Maybe you tried disconnecting internet to your house. Okay. But then other compromising situations came up. So remove the opportunities for those other situations. Put up porn blockers on work computers or on phones or all these different things. And if that's not a viable option, maybe ask if you can be moved to a desk where it's more open and harder to hide. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can do. Just be creative. The problem is a lot of times we don't really want to change. And so when something doesn't work, we say, oh, well, I tried, and the whole time, sorry, there's a fly. The whole time, the truth is that we're not really fully committed in our heart. And that's something you have to get through by yourself. Like, you're going to have to say, okay, my heart is not on board with this. I'm definitely not feeling it. We're going to plow ahead and do this anyways. But with pain that you go through with life, which is the unresolved conflicts that we're talking about, right? Pain won't suddenly just go away. It doesn't just disappear. For a large part, some pains never will go away. And by that I mean scars. Not that it has to actively hurt you for the rest of your life, but the things that have happened to you, that's part of your story. You may wish that it's not, but it still is. You might be able to deal with it or cope with it, but it's still part of your story. And how that part of the story develops is up to you. You can become the villain, or you cannot. It really is up to you. And definitely those things won't just go away. Don't run from it. That's the first thing I see a lot of people trying to do. Well, it happened. I'm just going to pretend it didn't happen. That's not going to help you, or denying it. I can just work my way through this. That's not going to work. Learn to embrace it without staying there. Realize that it happened without necessarily saying that you deserved it happening. Realize that it happened and embrace the fact that it happened as part of your story without saying, and that's where I'm staying. No, it's a part of the journey, maybe a painful part of the journey. But you can't stay there. You don't want the story to end there. Learn from it. Sometimes it's harder to learn from things. For instance, let's say you were molested or raped as a child. It's hard to learn something there because you were young, you weren't able to defend yourself, other people who should have defended you didn't defend you. It's very hard to learn from it. It's easier to have regrets from it. But if you really brainstorm, sometimes there are ways to learn from it. Now, once again, this isn't so much something that I can teach you, so much as something you have to discover. How can you learn from that situation? Maybe it's not a direct lesson. Maybe you can learn how much your actions affect others. When people hurt us, the victim, and I hear this term used a lot, the victim becomes the victimizer, the person who makes victims. Maybe a good lesson to learn from it would be how much what we do really impacts people. Maybe another lesson would be how much we need each other to protect each other. Maybe you can see other people who are being abused and mistreated and do something to help them. Our greatest ministries in life are usually going to be things that we're personally tied to. Maybe you could get involved with adoption or foster work. These are just options. I'm just throwing this out here. Obviously, you don't want to adopt a child who's in pain. If you are not currently dealing with your pain, you're just going to breed bitterness in them. It's going to be a train wreck. It's not going to go right because you're going to try and live vicariously through them. You need to heal, and then afterwards learn from it and put it into practice. But once again, this isn't really something that I can teach you. It's something you have to discover. Accept that you are growing. You might not be where you are, but hey, you're headed somewhere. It might be slower than you like, but hey, you're headed somewhere. Maybe it's slow. Maybe sometimes it's backwards, or it seems like it's backwards. But you're going somewhere, and it can be good. Focus on the next step to take. Always, always, always focus. Well, I feel stuck. Okay, let's focus on the next step. What are we doing right now? We're done with porn. Where am I going from here? We're trying to deal with this hurt that I have. Where am I going from here? Maybe go up to the person and try to resolve the conflict. I tell you what, there was a story, and I hesitated telling the story, but I will. There was this story of this guy who his wife was divorcing him, and like most men, when I noticed that whenever a wife says I want a divorce, the man usually has no idea why. Right? When a man says I want a divorce, the woman usually knows why. And just a personal observation. But anyways, and so he didn't want this to end, and she was bitter and he was bitter, and so he was trying to win the court case and everything. And this pastor advised him. He said, "Do you love her?" He said, "I hate how she's acting, but do you love her? Do you want things to ever become better?" "I don't think they ever can become better." "Okay, all right, but you want them to be?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Let her win. Give her whatever she wants." See, the problem is that's a blow to our pride. And actually what happened is he started acting like the man that she wanted him to act like the whole time. He let himself be changed instead of being stubborn about stupid stuff. They actually got remarried, and it went a lot better the second time, which usually doesn't happen. See, the problem is that we want to put ourselves first, and then we want to heal. You cannot possibly heal when you're putting yourself first. Sometimes you have to take a great big humble step, like letting your ex-spouse win the court case. Even if it doesn't end the way you want it to, that way at least it won't own you. Well, they're just taking advantage so you're going to turn it into a pissing contest back and forth? What are you going to do, right? Let the thing be over and done with quicker. Then you can both focus on the process of healing. Well, they won't heal, so do what's necessary to get healing without doing something immoral. Addendum. Don't let the pain hurt you. Don't let the pain own you. You're gonna have to struggle with it and whatnot, and there'll be times when you're okay with it, and times when you are just sitting by yourself crying. But it doesn't have to own you. It doesn't have to own you. It doesn't have to be in charge of every decision that you make. Heal the wound, and the pain will definitely die down. But wounds will always come, and there will always be scars. So you have to find the balance between doing nothing, trying to pretend like it didn't exist. There's this place in between that you can find where you can accept it, make peace with it, not let it own you, get over those feelings. There's been a lot of people that hurt me, and I've had to come to a place of just, it's okay, it's all right. And then sometimes I'll see them and I'll, that doesn't matter. Ultimately, a lot of them are saying bad things about me. That doesn't matter. People who I thought were my friends are listening to them say bad things, and it doesn't really matter. You have to be okay with your, you have to be okay with your pride dying. I had someone who was like a sister to me, abandoned, betrayed, lied, actually spread gossip throughout the community. We live in a smaller community, so a little bit goes a long way. Turned a lot of people against me. It caused a whole church problem, all kinds of different stuff. And of course, in my eyes, I didn't deserve it, and in her eyes, she did nothing wrong. That's the way it goes, right? And, it was hard for me to get over that, but there were some things that I came to realize, and this is the part that I wanted to give you some help on if you're having a hard time just coming to peace with someone who's done something that hurts you. First off, I realized that we had good times together. Maybe it didn't end how I liked, and maybe that last encounter was a bit rough, but that doesn't undo all the good times that we did have together. Another thing that helped is trying to understand where she came from. When you can, I don't want to say empathize, because that makes it sound like justifying the person who did the bad thing. That's like, but yeah, when you can empathize with the person, it's easier to understand and forgive them. It's hard because we want to believe that everybody's Hitler. And it's just difficult. You have to You have to understand where they're coming from, especially when you don't agree with the actions that they took. This person who molested me, for instance, not giving them a get out of jail free card, not saying that it was okay what happened, not saying that you deserved it, but still coming to the place of understanding how they reached a level of hurt and a level of just ugliness and a level of needing help but not seeking it. Understanding them as a person will help you to heal and forgive them. Why do I have to forgive them? Well, because if you don't, it'll just eat you up. You don't have to forgive people, but I can guarantee you won't be a happy person. There's something about holding on to a grudge, even if the grudge is deserved. It kind of just melts you inside. It makes you just a dark person. But I understood her. She was lonely. She was misunderstood. She felt like everything that she was doing was being judged. And that was more her insecurity than anything. I mean, I don't agree. I wasn't judging her. She probably thought that I was, though. And now, in hindsight, I can see things that I said and did that would have hurt her feelings unintentionally. And it gives me great pride knowing that most of the greatest hurts that I've done to people were completely unintentional on my end. That makes me feel better. At least I'm not trying to piss off all these people. It makes me feel bad that I do piss so many people off, that so many people dislike me, but I've never been good with people. I mean, I'm not going to beat myself up for the rest of my life because I'm terrible with people. I do my best, I really do. I try not to offend people. I try not to hurt people. I try to help encourage people. I try to warn people. I try to, do whatever is necessary to be a good friend through thick and thin. And most of the time, it's not been returned. And I had to be okay with that. I had to reach a place of saying, I'm not disappointed with how I acted. I might be disappointed with the situation, but people change and people learn and people grow. You can't expect other people to be perfect all the time. I know I'm not perfect all the time. I mean, what else are you going to do? Are you going to beat yourself up for the rest of your life trying to justify who was right and who was wrong? So I empathized, and I was able to understand her, and it helped me. I realized that I'm not perfect, that I did things, and I realized you don't have to stay with me to make me happy. My happiness, a lot of people just have a fear of rejection, but here's the thing, my happiness has to come as a result of my life choices. My happiness cannot come from the actions of others, or I will never be happy. If my happiness is always held captive by how other people are acting, I'm never going to be happy. I realized another thing is, instead of looking at all that I lost, I started looking at what I gained. For instance, life was actually a lot simpler without her. Now, that's hurtful, but I mean, she's already gone. What am I going to do? Just be sad and bitter about it? Instead, I decided to look at the bright side. She was a very insecure person, and somehow everything always became about her. And we were always walking on eggshells, trying not to offend her about everything. And I don't regret that. I regret what it turned into, and she didn't appreciate it in the end, anyways. Life is a lot simpler without her. I don't have to like that, but that's the way it is. Objective reality, regardless of my subjective feelings. And I don't think that a lot of that is that, being able to look at something objectively, maybe even as an outsider, and seeing how you can grow and the things that were your fault, the things that weren't your fault, and then accepting it as something that happened, and then allowing it not to hamper you from moving on. I learned that I used it as an opportunity to learn, to grow and think, and I've already shared some of that. Seeing my weaknesses and my strengths and what I need to do and what I need to stop doing and that kind of stuff. To think things through, to weigh and analyze. I learned that trust has to be earned, and once it's earned, it doesn't mean that it has to stay forever. People give their trust to people who don't deserve it, and then if there's something that breaks that trust, they just throw it back out just with no discernment. That's not wise. It was an opportunity for me to learn. It was an opportunity for me to grow as a person and to think as a person. I also used it as an opportunity to strengthen friendships with others that mattered to me, that I still have. Well, what if somebody else leaves me? What if somebody else dies? Loss and betrayal is all around, and may even be inevitable. Maybe it is, I don't know. That shouldn't make us withdraw. That should make us cherish what we have. Learn to cherish what we have while we have it. What if I lose? That's tomorrow's battle. Right now, be thankful for what you have. It's like this. When you walk down the street and you see a flower, do you admire the flower? Or do you worry that tomorrow that flower might be dead? Life is too short. Really, it is. And then there's the problem that love and good things always come with the bad things. Love comes with loss. No matter who you love, eventually they're going to be gone. Either you're going to die, or they're going to die, or they're going to leave you, or something else is going to happen. There is no situation where someone that you love, you will have a relationship with them for all of eternity. That's never a situation that happens. You will eventually have to say goodbye. How you do that depends on you. And that takes me back to the part from that book that I quoted at the beginning of last lesson. You have to accept both. You have to accept the love and the loss. Life is full of risks. You can't avoid it unless you try to stop living, and then what's the point of it? I know that for a lot of Christians, they try so hard. To just focus on the next life and all these different things, and they make it where this life is so dull and just ugly and boring and miserable. It's like Jesus said about giving his life not just in the next one, but also in this one. I don't think that he meant for us to walk around all gloomy and I'm just waiting for the rapture to happen. I don't think that's what he intended. And a lot of times Christians do that, atheists, you're never thinking about the next life. And meanwhile, the atheist is like, you're not even enjoying this life. Why would I want to go with you to the next one? Maybe that humor is in bad taste, but I still think it's pretty on point. Being able to enjoy life, give yourself the permission to enjoy it. And so what about the bad things that she's still doing now? The gossip that she's still doing, the problems that she's still trying to create, and things that I'm still having to deal with. It's none of my business. But it affects me, but she's talking about me. Okay, still none of my business. Moving on. See, you can't hate somebody and then do the exact same thing that they're doing. Maybe that's the reason why you hate them, is because you're doing the exact same thing that they're doing. So with porn and with Hertz, it's not about, and I bet you thought he forgot that he's doing a video about porn, but I'm telling you, the two are related. It's not about never struggling again. Oh, I have found a way to never ever struggle with porn again. I will never look at it again. It's not about that. It's about removing the reason for the struggle. And that's this entire 2-part video that I'm probably in another part too. In fact, there will be another part. It's about removing the reason for the struggling. I have hurt. It's not dealt with. I look at porn because I feel hollow. Oh, well, I don't feel like that. I sleep around because I like it so much. Then why do you always have to sleep around more to try and bring back some feeling of happiness and comfort? How come when you wake up in the morning you still feel empty? How come when you're by yourself you just want to be by other people? How come when you're by other people you just want to be by yourself? It's not about never struggling. It's about removing the reason for the struggling. It's about learning. It's about growing. It's about moving in the right direction. Especially in Christianity, people focus so much on being perfect all the time when that's not even the point of Christianity. Focus less on being perfect and everything going your way all the time, and focus more on learning, on growing, on moving in the right direction. So we'll pick up here on the next video. Didn't seem like we made a whole lot of progress for 24 minutes, but I hope that you kind of get where I'm coming from.